So here's 7 reasons why this DAW legit works best for me in 2023. Let's go. Welcome back to the Complex Entertainment Group. Today we're talking about DAWs, namely Reaper. I started using Reaper about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years max. I switched from Pro Tools to Reaper. One of the main drivers that prompted the switch was when Pro Tools went full on subscription. And I was like, no, I had a perpetual license and I'm not just trying to keep dishing out large amounts of cash like that. So I started hunting around for another DAW and stumbled upon Reaper. So coming from Pro Tools, in this video I'm going to go over 7 reasons where I really benefited by switching to Reaper. Make sure you stick around to the end of this video because you might be surprised on what my 7th and final reason actually is going to be. Reason number 1 is the auto colorization of the track. I can just type right into the track name and it'll automatically set itself to the color which I've designated. Now you do have to have certain additional extensions within Reaper to kind of auto help do this, but you can right click on a track as well and set the color icon or set the color and it'll select a random one for you or however else. But this helps me a lot. And again, coming from Pro Tools world, yeah, you can change the colors or the tabs of the track colors in Pro Tools, but there's a lot more clicks to accomplish that. Whereas here, again in Reaper, I can just kind of set this up to go through the auto color and I can assign any track name that I type in here with a custom color. So that's what I've done, again, just to kind of help show here. If I were to type in piano, it automatically sets to a color. If I said synth, it sets to another color. All my bass automatically defaults to this. So anytime I go into any session, I'm always familiar with the color coding that I have set up here. And it just helps me to really organize my tracks in a quick way and, find what I'm looking for. All right, reason number 2. So coming from the Pro Tools world, there's different track types. Well, in Reaper, that is not the case. A track is a track is a track. Remember that. A track is a track is a track. Meaning that I can have on one track multiple different types of media. For example, I can set up here and use MIDI instrument on the track. Let's just throw in some, I don't care, puzzle. Hit record. Alright, so I easily recorded some MIDI. Now let's say I wanted to record some audio next to that, right? I can switch. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. And as you see, now recorded audio. So I have audio and MIDI on the exact same track. All right, so reason number 3, Reaper supports video. So once again, as I stated, any track can be used for any purpose. A track is a track is a track. So I can take a video file and simply throw it into Reaper.
My darling girl, You are getting what you always wanted. You are marrying for love.
So yeah, this video is part of the Bridgerton scoring competition that went out, I believe, late last year. But as you can see, Reaper has no problem with the video. All I simply did was dragged and dropped the file in the Reaper, and good to go. Now, for me, this was huge because with the new subscription model for Pro Tools, again, I'm using the basic one now. The light version, and it no longer supports video. And there were tracks and sessions that I had open that had video files, and now that I open them without having that higher tier of the model for Pro Tools, all my video tracks are gone. So now I'm able to use video once again on my tracks or my sessions, easily and straightforward, just by using Reaper. So before I get into the next reason, if you're not already a subscriber, I would appreciate if you hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up. It really helps for the YouTube algorithm and supports the channel. Appreciate it. Reason number 4 of how Reaper has really benefited me is the customization. So full disclosure, I'm using a custom theme in Reaper. The default doesn't look too much different, but just throwing out there that this is not the default theme. As you can see, I've customized my toolbars to include all of the buttons and things that I need readily available at the top of the screen. That just really helps for my workflow. And again, this was something that I couldn't do necessarily in Pro Tools. Now, I can't say for other DAWs on, whether they have this level of customization, but this really helps me. I can quickly change the grid size. I have multiple custom actions that I've set up in this, so that I can quickly just hit a shortcut key, whether that be to split tracks just directly underneath the cursor, or I can have it set where I want the cursor to then split the track. Like, there's multiple ways you can do things. There's multiple configuration options here. There are mouse modifiers, so that you can set up your mouse to do different things depending on whether you're hovering over the top of the media item or the bottom of the media item. Like, almost anything you can think of is able to be set up here in Reaper. And then once you've set all your features and all your configuration, you can export that configuration and save it to a file, so that if your session were to ever crash, or if your system were to go down, you can always have this configuration export file that you can re-upload in the Reaper and have all your settings back. So this has been huge for me. I'm constantly going in as I make little tweaks here and there, exporting my configuration and saving it to the side. All right, we're almost to the end. Let's get into reason number 5 of why I like Reaper. Well, in Reaper, I can have multiple tabs open, so it doesn't take me as long to have to close the session down and reopen a new one. So in this case, like I had this session up before, let's say if I really didn't want to use this guitar riff for this track, and I wanted to move it over something else to save something for a completely other song or another track that I'm going to build out later, I can actually copy or even cut the guitar piece from here and paste it over into a separate tab, which is a separate session, and go right back to the other one. So then I can mute this back out. And even while this is playing, I can switch back and forth between the two. It's still playing from the other session. And it's not messing up what I'm doing on this session. I can even start to play the session. And it's doing it with no problem. It's not like one session is then impacting the other one. I'm sure maybe if you do this too much, there may be, you know, boggle down on the CPU, but I just like being able to toggle between two different windows, two different sessions, as I might have various ideas and I want to capture it and move fast. All right, so here we are, reason number 6. So for this track in Reaper, I have this set up where it's all, well, almost all within a region. But as I zoom out here, you see this is the full length of the track, well, almost the full. I would have to extend out the region a little bit more. And this would be a 60-second version, a 30-second version that I would do, a 15-second, and a 10-second version. So I can then export or render out within Reaper each one of these sections at once. So if I were to open up Reaper's render to file window here, you see the regions are set to 5, which accounts for each one of the regions that I have set up. And I set these regions up in my Reaper template by default so that I don't have to keep going in and creating them. They're always set up. So once I do go ahead and make each one of these different versions of the track or the alt mixes, once I export this out, Reaper will automatically go to each region and export it at once. All right, so the 7th and final reason of why I enjoy this DAW so much and have benefited from it, really, I would say, is not necessarily strictly about one of its features, but I guess it is. But it's more, for me, about how familiar the DAW is. So I started this off saying that, you know, I switched to Reaper coming from Pro Tools. But what I didn't say is that I actually switched to Pro Tools years back from a DAW called Acid Pro. Acid Pro was the first DAW I had ever used. I actually got it as like a Christmas gift from my uncle, and that was the start of my experience making music. Acid Pro is structured very similar to how Reaper is. So for me, being able to just go in and let's say have an item and double click it and then have it loop pretty much takes me back to the days of using Acid. It was a more loop-based program. I mean, I think it's still around today, but a lot of people don't really talk about it. I believe DJ Payne, I'm not sure if he still uses it or not, but I know I've seen some of his videos where he referenced it and, you know, said that was like a application or a DAW that he used for a while. So one of the huge benefits, at least for me, that I get from switching and using Reaper now as opposed to Pro Tools is that I feel like I've recaptured some of the essence of making music that I used to have when I was making it back in Acid. So those are my 7 reasons for why I've really enjoyed and found benefit of using Reaper, coming from a Pro Tools standpoint, and even further back, coming from a person who started off, whose original DAW was Acid Pro. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Appreciate your time, and we'll chat again in the next video. Peace.